Okay, in the previous lesson, we talked about the structure of the skin and we identified some structures on the drawing, and we talked about functions of other structures that you should not identify on the drawing. It is not in the syllabus, but you should know their functions such as Malpighian layer and cornified layer and melanin pigment. So skin plays very important role in protecting you against either pathogens or against harmful radiation by having the waterproof keratin with dead cell cornified layer. It works like a mechanical barrier, and the melanin pigment also plays very important role to reduce the risk of having skin cancer. Also, the skin plays very important role in sensitivity. If you feel something hot or cold, you can take an action. If you are exposed to something which is sharp, you can take an action to prevent further damage, such as cut or wound. If you feel something very hot, you can prevent further damage, such as burning. Your skin won't get burned. So here we have sense receptors that are connected to neurons that send the signals or the impulse when you feel like these stimuli in the outside environment. So the skin plays very important role in sensitivity. The third role that the skin plays is temperature regulation, and this is what we are going to discuss in homeostasis chapter. Okay, before talking about how your skin regulates temperature or help in regulating the temperature, we should talk about hypothalamus first. Hypothalamus is a gland that is found on the brain. It acts like a thermostat. It detects the changes in the temperature of the blood. If the blood's temperature rises above 37 or less than 37, then hypothalamus actually sends signals or impulses or electrical messages along nerves to many parts of the body to take an action in order to maintain constant temperature. And one of these parts is the skin. Here, let's look for the one which is on the left when the body is too cold. When the body is too cold, first of all, here, once you feel cold, you feel that your hairs actually become upright and you feel it. So here, this is taking place by erector muscles. Erector muscles, once they contract, they make the hair upright. Do you see? Why? In order to trap any warm air here. As you know, your body's temperature is warm, is around 37. So the air which is in touching with your skin or which is close to your skin, it is warmer than further air. So in order to keep this air warm as much as possible, the hairs actually become upright in order to trap this warm air next to the skin. The second action that is taken by controlling the size of arterioles. It is very important to mention arterioles. If you talk about blood capillaries in general, if you talk about venules, not accepted. You should talk about arterioles. Arterioles are the first which take the action of dilating or constriction. Now we are going to talk about this. Here, arterioles, the one that carries oxygenated blood to the skin. They are branched from arteries. As we know, arteries cannot go and exchange materials directly at cellular level since they carry blood at high pressure. So there is no efficient diffusion for substances across cells. At the same time, cells would be damaged because of high pressure. That's why arteries should be branched into arterioles then into a bed of network or into capillaries. So here, arterioles, these are arterioles. Do you see them here? This one and the one on the right. Now, arteriole actually carries blood from arteries to the skin to exchange oxygen, glucose for respiration and other materials. Now, arterioles in the skin constrict. When we say constrict, it means contract or they get narrower. The diameter of the arteriole gets less or decreases. So once the arterioles decrease, what happens? The blood flow is reduced. As we know that blood is mainly made up of plasma, which is 90% water. Water carries heat with it. So once blood flows, heat is transferred by radiation out. Heat is radiated out of water. It can be lost by radiation or either by conduction with the wall of arterioles then out of the skin. So once the blood flows, any liquid flows, it loses heat. Once it is flowing, once it is moving, it loses heat. So here, in order to trap heat, in order to reduce heat loss, we should not say stop heat loss. Since we have movement of blood and there is blood, so there is heat radiation or heat is lost, but we want to reduce it. So in order to reduce heat loss, the arterioles constrict or they get narrower, and we call this process vasoconstriction. Vaso, it means vascular. So the tubes here. Constriction means contraction or getting narrower. So once the blood that is going to the capillary here also is reduced, and the one that is coming out of the vein also is reduced. Look at the sweaty glands. Once the arteriole secretes less blood to other capillaries, that means less heat is radiated. So here the sweaty glands, as you see, we don't have water evaporation. Do you see this? We don't have any water evaporation or water droplets on the surface. So the sweating is reduced here in order to keep the heat trapped inside the body. This is the mechanism when the body is too cold. Here is the mechanism when the body is too hot. Here the opposite takes place. If the hairs here become upright, here no need to become upright because already the temperature inside is hot and the outside is hot, so here the body is not losing heat to the surrounding environment. Suppose that it is summer or someone is exercising, so in order to avoid increase in the temperature above 37, your body should cool down. So here the hairs no need to trap any warm air because already the air is warm. So the hairs lie flat. Here also the arterioles, notice the diameter. The arterioles dilate or they get wider. They widen in order to make more blood flow. More blood flow means more heat loss. So greater heat loss by radiation out of the skin. As you see here, the sweat gland receives more blood, so receives more heat. More heat means more water evaporates out. As we know, sweat contains water, salts, urea. So it is a way of excretion. Here, The opposite takes place to when the body is too cold. This is how skin regulates temperature. What about other parts of the body? As we said, hypothalamus regulates blood temperature by sending impulses to many parts. We talked about skin, what happens in skin, such as sweating or vasoconstriction, and the dilation of the arterioles. It is called vasodilation when they become wider, okay? Also takes place near the skin. What about muscles? When you feel cold, you feel that your muscles shake or you have shivering. So this happens in order to make the muscles contract. Once they contract, that means they need energy to contract. So what they do, they respire. And as we know, respiration releases heat. So this produces heat to make you warm, which warms blood. As we said, hairs stand up. This happens in skin. So muscles shake or you have shivering, and you have the mechanism in the skin as we discussed before, and the metabolism may increase. The metabolism, because as we know, respiration produces heat in order to warm your blood. When it is hot already, we discuss it here. We don't have shivering or movement of the muscles already because we don't want to produce more heat by respiration. So the respiration may slow down to reduce the amount of heat produced. So this is the negative feedback or mechanism of your body that is taken actually place by hypothalamus. And here is a diagram for this negative feedback. What happens? The hypothalamus, when the temperature is too hot, just trace the red arrows. What happens? Your body needs to lose heat in order not for the temperature to become over 37. So respiration slows, the hair lies flat, surface blood vessels dilate, which is called vasodilation. And we have more sweating in order to cool your body down. The opposite takes place when you are too cold in order to maintain heat or to gain heat. Thank you.